cause I'm on one.
You know, we have ones that's Ras Tafari, live in the city, Kingston City, Manhattan, like I, you know. We live amongst our universal brothers and sisters, and Rastafari is for each and every one. So it's not a...
Swinging for the fences for the home run.
Habesha, Megusana, guess the Ethiopia. Habesha, Mrs. Maya, the Farambasa. Habesha.
Even further beyond into the universe, but I've got to make it to first.
Urgent message from the 12 seers of Mount Zion. They said the black nation will be blessed by God in these days. Circle the mountain and go home. Shabbat, Mount Zion calling me.
Alright, so as always, again, greetings, Lidj Ras Yefdeyah here. Again, reporting on some things, just starting off in the first couple of so weeks of 2020, and some very interesting topics already to get to that are already in development or already making some waves across many spectrums of society in this sense. And we still have so much to catch up on just from the clearing out and the end of 2019 as far as many of the topics that we've been keeping up with. But just to stick to the point here and keep things moving along as far as this podcast is concerned, and catching ones up a bit, we mentioned so many of the protests coming throughout the year of 2019 and how they geopolitically would make some comparisons and also make a little bit of a I guess you can say create a space in which other adjacent topics or issues may come into play as far as the world scene is concerned now. But this particular topic, which we're getting to here first, was one that definitely sprung from the protest scene, and the protest scene specifically in Hong Kong. So we're speaking mostly on the far east as far as geography is concerned, and more so in the political spectrum here. But here coming from the South China Morning Post and dealing with certain politics there, again, much of what we saw in Hong Kong was at one time predicted to happen in Taiwan. But I even saw with much of everything that has played out in that scene in Hong Kong and also having its reverberations there in Taiwan, we see here what has come up. So entitled here, Taiwan elections, Tsai Ing-wen re-elected as president and rival. Hong Kuo Yu concedes defeat. Now, a couple of subtitles here just to get one's prepped for what we're going to say here. Tsai's approach to mainland China was one of the key issues in the election, and the comfortable victory will be seen as a mandate to continue her approach. Point 2, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo congratulates the president on her re-election. And so again, this post coming again out of the South China Morning Post here dated January 11th, 2020. And just continuing on to give someone a little bit more of the background here. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen won a second term on Saturday with a comfortable victory over Hong Kuo-yu in an election that had been cast as a referendum on the island's approach to Beijing. Tsai, from the independence-leaning Democratic Progressive Party of the DPP, captured more than 8 million votes, trumping her major challenger Hong Kuo-yu from the mainland-friendly Kuomintang by close to 3 million votes. Han, the populist mayor of Kaohsiung, conceded defeat and offered his congratulations to Tsai about an hour after James Su-Chu-yu from the People's First Party made his concession speech. Soon garnered less than 600,000 votes, far short of 5.5 million votes received by Han. Just after 9 p.m., Tsai's vote total had passed 8 million, more than 6.9 million she received when victorious in 2016. The DPP also secured a sweeping victory in the island's legislative elections, winning 61 seats compared with KMT's 38. The results mean the ruling party will maintain its majority in the legislative yuan. Analysts said the result would give Tsai a mandate to continue her current cross-strait policy, despite the KMT's disagreements and strong opposition from the mainland. Cross-strait issues have been an important topic in the election, with Tsai's critiques questioning, or at least her critics questioning her ability in dealing with China, but more than 8 million voters have cast their ballots to back her current approach, quote-unquote, said Lidj Yefdi, chairman of the Council of International Cooperation at Taiwan think tank. Tsai has refused to accept the One China principle since she was first elected in 2016, prompting Beijing, which considers the island a wayward province that must return to the mainland fold by force if necessary, to stage a series of war games and poach 7 allies from Taiwan to try to force her to do so. Peace means that China must abandon threats of force against Taiwan, quote-unquote, Tsai said as she declared victory in Taipei. I also hope that Beijing authorities understand that democratic Taiwan and our democratically elected government will not concede to threats and intimidation, Tsai added. She continued that cross-strait relations should be based on peace, equality, democracy, and dialogue, hinting that she would not seek to provoke Beijing in the next 4 years. Tsai said Taiwan would want to become partners and not issues for its neighbors. Tsai did not comment on the protests in Hong Kong, but said she believed friends in Hong Kong would also feel glad about the result. Chuang Wen-chung, a professor of administration at Tsin University, said the result also showed that the majority of the voters in Taiwan no longer accepted the One China principle. This means the KMT will have to develop some sort of new theories in its dealing with the mainland in the future, he added. The KMT had accepted the principle on the grounds that China represents the Republic of China, the island's official title. After the result, KMT chairman Wu Dingyi and other senior officials resigned, taking responsibility of the party's defeat in both the presidential and legislative races. Voters have made their choices, quote-unquote, he said. All the senior executives of the party, including the chairman, will offer their resignation to the Central Standing Committee next week. At the DPP headquarters, one of Tsai's supporters said he had been a bit worried when he saw the number of Han's supporters was much bigger than Tsai's at their final campaign rallies. But as the results started to come in, he started to feel excited. We are very pleased. It's better than our expectations because Taiwanese have a strong feeling of national demise, quote-unquote, said Tong Cheng-hin, 43, who works in the finance industry. This year's elections have been dominated by issues of national sovereignty, democracy, and the relationship between Taipei and Beijing, amid accusations of mainland interference in Taiwan and the continuing protests in Hong Kong. Analysts say Tsai's campaign had been helped by her message that Taiwan needed to be safeguarded against pressure from Beijing. Tsai is also thought to have benefited from Han's gaffes, the perception that he was Beijing's preferred candidate, and disunity within the KMT. Her re-election is likely to see a heightening of cross-strait tensions as officials' ties have been suspended since she assumed office in 2016, ostensibly over her refusal to accept the 1992 consensus, a political understanding that there is only one China with ambiguity over whether it is governed by Taipei or Beijing. Ma Jiaguang, a spokesman for China's Taiwan Affairs Office, issued a statement late Saturday night saying that the mainland stood by the One China principle and peaceful unification under the one country, two systems model. We resolutely uphold our national sovereignty and territorial integrity and firmly oppose any attempt and form of splitting the country, he said. He added that the mainland was willing to work with Taiwanese compatriots to push for a peaceful cross-strait development and unification model. In a tweet, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo congratulated Tsai on her re-election, saying she demonstrates the strength of its robust democratic system. Thank you, President Tsai, for your leadership in developing a strong U.S. partnership, quote unquote. Lidj Yefdi, a deputy director of the Institute of Taiwan Studies at Beijing Union University, said that the election result had been expected and that Beijing had learned over the years how to respond to the rise and fall of political parties in Taiwan. Cross-strait relations may enter a cooling off period, but I am afraid this may be inevitable, he said. On Saturday evening at Tsai's supporters gathered outside her campaign headquarters, footage of someone in the crowd holding a black flag with the words "Liberate Hong Kong, Revolution of Our Times" was broadcast on a large screen. The master of ceremonies thanked supporters coming from Hong Kong and repeated the slogan. Hong Kongers in the crowd then shouted back the slogan several times, with some Taiwanese joining in the chant. Han, a populist figure who rose to prominence after his surprise win as Kaohsiung mayor in the regional elections in November 2018, had called for closer ties with the mainland to ease tensions and boost Taiwan's economy. In conceding defeat, Han said he would return to Kaohsiung to continue his work as mayor. My personal efforts were not enough, and I let down all of your expectations, he told supporters. On Monday, I will return to Kaohsiung City to go back to work, he said. I continue to carry the responsibility on my shoulders. His supporters at his headquarters in Kaohsiung became increasingly somber as the results started to come in, with some yelling, "Check the votes." One of Han's iron fans, Wu Yun-chuang, who gained the nickname Almond Brother for selling almond tea at local night markets, urged the crowd not to become too disheartened and not to cry as the results came in, helping lead chants on stage such as "Long Live the Republic of China." If we do lose tonight, and this is not yet certain, it will be because of the media's operations, Wu said. And the report, of course, concludes here. And again, as we continue to read, of course, through this report and also look around at many other sources to kind of verify what we were reading here, and also seeing throughout the year protests going on in Hong Kong for quite some time and it catching so many waves and so much attention, it was clearly inevitable, as many ones have said here in the report, that these things were to come up, and surely they have coming into this 2020 year. And as so, the incumbent president there in Taiwan has been reelected, so we expect certain tensions to come and go, or maybe even rise in a sense in this year and the coming years, as well as many other issues that have been lingering for quite some time over the past few decades. So much more to really examine and also keep watch on here, as this will not only affect the political spectrum there in the Far East, but it will also affect the geopolitical surface of things, and also the scheme of things going on between other powers involved in the region as well as internationally, with certain interests in the region. So a lot of things will continue to come up, and we will be sure to share as much as we can moving forward along with this particular subject.